He didn't just survive the crash, he got rich from it. As Terra collapsed and billions vanished, a handful of traders made life-changing money overnight. This is the collapse that created overnight crypto millionaires. Before it all came crashing down, Terra was a crypto sweetheart, a bold experiment led by a brash South Korean entrepreneur named Do Kwon. His vision? A decentralized financial system powered by an algorithmic stablecoin, UST. UST wasn't backed by dollars. It was held in balance by a sister token, Luna. The idea was simple on paper. Mint or burn one to stabilize the other. But what really supercharged adoption was Anchor Protocol, Terra's flagship lending platform that promised a staggering 20% APY on UST deposits. To retail investors, it felt like free money. To institutions, it seemed like the future of DeFi. And by late 2021, Terra had become a top 10 crypto project with tens of billions in total value locked. Influencers hyped it while hedge funds backed it, and even traditional investors were quietly buying in. Do Kwon's confidence was contagious. He mocked critics and dismissed warnings as he doubled down on Twitter. But behind the scenes, the entire system was balancing on a knife's edge, waiting for the wrong moment to spiral out of control. But behind Terra's glittering promise, a quiet storm was already gathering force. Long before the crash, the foundations of Terra were already showing stress fractures. The algorithm that kept UST pegged to the dollar wasn't backed by reserves. It relied on market trust and timing. If that trust wavered, the system would spiral, and a few people saw it coming. Fatman Terra, a pseudonymous whistleblower on Twitter, called Terra a Ponzi at scale, warning that once Anchor's unsustainable 20% yields dried up, UST would unravel. Another early skeptic, Freddie Reynolds, ran simulations in late 2021 showing how Terra could be attacked. His warnings were ignored by most. Then there was GCR, an anonymous trader known for his precision bets. He didn't just warn followers, he prepared to strike. By early 2022, over $14 billion in UST had been locked into Anchor Protocol, making Terra one of the most systemically exposed projects in crypto. Everyone from retail investors to hedge funds had bought into the illusion of stability. And with so much capital trapped in a fragile system, all it would take was a nudge to bring it down. That nudge came suddenly and within hours as trust turned into full-blown panic. On May 7th, 2022, the unthinkable happened. UST lost its dollar peg. At first it seemed minor, a dip to 98 cents. But in a system built on confidence, even a slight deviation sends shockwaves through the market. Traders rushed to swap UST for Luna, triggering the algorithm to mint more and more Luna in a desperate attempt to restore the peg. But the more Luna was minted, the faster its value collapsed. By May 9th, UST was trading at 60 cents. Luna, once a top 10 coin, was falling so fast it became unlistable on major exchanges within days. The entire algorithmic defense mechanism had flipped into a death spiral, minting Luna into worthlessness in a futile effort to defend UST. Billions were locked in the Anchor Protocol. Thousands of wallets were frozen in fear or disbelief. In just 72 hours, $40 billion in market value had disappeared. Screens turned red, tweets turned frantic, and in the chaos, a small group of traders quietly stepped into position, not to survive the crash, but to profit from it. While most froze in fear, they were already executing their boldest trades. As Terra collapsed, most saw devastation, but there was opportunity. One of the most infamous was GCR, an anonymous trader known for calling macro shifts with brutal precision. As UST began slipping, GCR publicly announced a $10 million short position on Luna. His message was cold and surgical. This will trade much lower. Size is irrelevant. He wasn't wrong. On platforms like FTX and Binance, traders opened massive short positions, riding Luna's freefall from $80 to fractions of a cent. At the same time, on-chain players were exploiting the UST Luna mint burn mechanism, printing trillions of Luna and dumping them before the market completely collapsed. One address, later exposed by Fatman Terra, turned $200,000 into over $6 million in less than a week. Transaction hashes confirmed it. Looping trades, perfectly timed exits, and cold execution while the rest of the market burned. These weren't lucky bets. Oh no, they were calculated, ruthless plays made in the eye of a storm. And for a few, they didn't just avoid ruin, they became overnight crypto millionaires. If you've made it this far, you're exactly who we create these crypto stories for. Hit subscribe for even bigger crashes, comebacks, and hidden plays coming next. Now let's see how they saw it coming when so many didn't. The truth is, Terra wasn't the first of its kind. And to those paying attention, it showed all the same warning signs. In mid-2021, a similar collapse had already unfolded. Iron Finance and its Titan token, that algorithmic stablecoin, failed in almost identical fashion, depegging, hyperinflating, and evaporating in hours. For traders like GCR, Terra was déjà vu with higher stakes. They understood reflexivity, the brutal feedback loop where falling prices trigger panic, and panic accelerates the fall. UST's peg wasn't backed by hard collateral, it was backed by sentiment. And once trust was cracked, the collapse was mathematical. But timing was everything. It wasn't just about knowing it could happen, it was about acting before the herd. The profitable traders weren't always the smartest. They were the fastest and the most decisive ones, never the emotional ones. While most clung to hope or froze, they were shorting, looping, minting, and exiting. They didn't need to be right for long, just long enough to get out with life-changing profits. For them, it was conviction, sharpened by memory and not luck. But for every winner in this collapse, there were thousands left shattered. By May 13th, Luna had fallen from over $80 to just 1/100,000th of a dollar, a near total collapse in under a week. UST was no longer a stablecoin. It was trading at pennies, its dollar peg gone for good. The fallout was catastrophic. Entire life savings were wiped out. Anchor Protocol, once a DeFi darling, became a graveyard of broken wallets. Exchanges scrambled to delist Luna. Protocols dependent on Terra's infrastructure collapsed overnight. And the man at the center of it all, Do Kwon, vanished. He mocked critics on Twitter even as lawsuits mounted. Eventually, international arrest warrants were issued and Kwon went on the run. He was later detained in Montenegro with forged travel documents. Regulators from the US, South Korea, and beyond began probing Terra's collapse. Lawsuits targeted Terraform Labs, its executives, and any entities that promoted the ecosystem. Estimates suggest over $40 billion in value was lost, much of it from everyday investors. While a few walked away with fortunes, the vast majority were left with nothing but a harsh lesson. In crypto, trust can vanish faster than wealth. The system failed, but the hunger that fueled it never really left. Terra's collapse wasn't the death of a dream, it was the exposure of a flaw. And yet that hasn't stopped the next wave of experiments. Today, algorithmic stablecoins are still being tested, often under different names and slightly tweaked models. Some aim to fix Terra's mistakes, others simply hope the market forgets. But the core fuel hasn't changed: greed dressed up as innovation. The idea of earning 20% risk-free returns was never sustainable, but it didn't need to be. It just needed to last long enough to pull people in. And it worked too, until, well, it didn't. For every Do Kwon, there will be another visionary promising stability through code. And for every GCR, another trader will quietly load up on shorts, waiting for the system to crack. Because this wasn't the first time a collapse created overnight crypto millionaires, and it likely won't be the last. In crypto, the cycle of euphoria, denial, and destruction keeps repeating. The real question is, will you be the one holding the bag or the one holding the trigger?